And just like that, we are back again. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Captain Cody Davis here with you guys again, as always. Just sitting down to hang out, really. Just had some time to kill and figured, why not just go shoot some sort of content, some sort of video. I was actually fully intending on being on the lake today. I did just get off the lake. I was on the lake this morning running a morning trip. And my intentions were to go back out on the lake and film some content afterwards. And just so happened that little black cloud of bad luck that's been following me around for what seems like almost a year now just continues to do so. And about 15 minutes before we called it a day, I pulled down to let my guys throw a worm on a point, and my spike on my Raptor ended up snapping off, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal because you might be saying, Cody, you have two of them. It's not that big of a deal. But it is when the spike on your other Raptor has been broken for like 2 weeks. So I'm poleless. And, with all the talk of forward-facing sonar and electronics and stuff going around, listen, when it comes to fishing on Lake Okeechobee, like, in my opinion, especially on a windy day, obviously, right? I mean, but that's probably one of the most important tools to me is either your power poles or your Raptors, your shallow water anchors, really. I don't know how we ever fished without them, but it's just because we didn't have them. But so that's broke. They're on order. They're under warranty, obviously. They're actually supposed to be coming in today. And I just said, you know what? They're not in yet. It's blowing. The fishing really wasn't that great. So I just went ahead and called it a day, came home, did some stuff in the yard, and now I've just got a little bit of time to kill before a little man shows up. So I said, what the heck? Let's just go catch everybody up to speed on what's going on. So here I am. Other than today, I shouldn't say that. I'll be honest with you guys. I'm not going to, lie about it. The fishing's been pretty tough. It's been a grind is what it's been. You look at the tournament weights. My buddy Matt Weeda had 33 and a half pounds to win an ABA event last weekend. And then, Nick Hoining ended up tying for second with Brandon Medlock with 29 and a half. So how tough really is it? But it's definitely a little niche deal. Funny enough, Matt is catching his fish looking at him with forward-facing sonar, which we might get into. Probably going to get into it because it's 2024 and this is a bass fishing podcast / video / anything to do with bass fishing. Solely revolves around forward-facing sonar anymore. So one way or the other. So I'm sure we'll get into that. But the fishing's been tough. It's a grind. It's just one of those deals where, listen, these fish are spawning. We're on a lake that has big ones. You just need to put yourself in position, be patient, and you could have a fantastic day. You might only catch 6 fish. You might only catch 3 fish. You might only catch 20 fish, whatever it is. But the chances of catching a big one are there. Fished yesterday. And I think we caught 4 fish in 6 hours, but one was just right at 9 pounds. So that's what you're dealing with when you come down here. Today it was just tough. Got around some fish, and my guys were avid worm fishermen, which was perfect because that's when it comes down to it. That's really what I've been catching all my fish on. It's just swimming a burner worm, a speed worm around, swimming it, dragging it, dead sticking it. So I thought it set up perfect for them, and I think they missed 2 and caught 1. But it started blowing. It was really windy, and just, I don't know. It just got in a bad rotation and didn't really have a great day. But it's been a grind. It's been tough. If you guys follow me on social media, I mean, you're seeing we're catching some big fish, but you're not seeing what goes in to catching those big fish. A lot of times there's been a big bite window for me in my boat. I'm talking, what I've been dealing with. And it seems like you got about 45 minutes to make magic happen at some point in the day. And it does happen if you're ready, but that window happens at a different point each day. So the other day I fished and had some guys with me that were very good. And we picked apart for like 4.5 hours. And then it was like from noon to 1, we dialed in a little deal. We put a decent, really nice bag of fish together in that hour, and then it went dormant again. Caught an 8, I think a 5, a couple 3.5s. I mean, and it'll happen quick, and it'll happen in a spot that's like a quarter of the size of this room. And that's just how it's been fishing slow. If you think you're fishing slow, slow down. That's how it's been with me. Again, I'm not using electronics and forward facing sonar, but if you are using that, it's the same thing. But here's the deal: it's a lot easier for these guys to slow down when they're looking at 8 and 9 pounders on beds on their graph. So got to take that into consideration. And you've been catching some fish on a frog, moving baits, but again, you got to be fishing slow. As far as what I'm concerned, I'm going to sneeze. That was a horrible sneeze, and I didn't cover my mouth. God bless me. But at least what I've been experiencing, got to fish slow. But there's some big ones around. The lake is, well, we'll get into that in a second. But, we're on a full moon. These fish are spawning. So I always tell everyone wants to come here for the spawn. But I don't think people think it through. They think spawn. Like, it's just one of those things. I feel like it's like that with any sort of outdoor activity, right? Like I always say this with people. I remember when I first started getting into snook fishing, you'd always hear like, "Oh, well, it's the full moon, so I got to go snook fishing." Oh, it's the full moon, so the snook are gonna bite. And then when I finally started fishing with real snook guys, like guys that eat, sleep, breathe snook fishing, they've been divorced 64 times and they haven't had a job since '88 because all they do is think about snook. It's like, no, like I'm not snook fishing tonight. It's a full moon. What are you, crazy? It's horrible. It's horrible. I hate fishing the full moon. I hate it to this day. And I feel like it's kind of like that even with like the spawn with bass fishing is like, I don't really like the moon. The only time I like the full moon is in the months of April, May, and I guess the one in June, because the bluegill use it to spawn, right? So when you find the bluegill on beds, you meander around those bluegill beds, doing your deal, and you'll catch some big bass. On top of that, in the summer months, though, I feel like a lot of your schooling fish, your outside edge fish feeding up on shad and stuff, are a lot harder to catch on a full moon because the water's hot. So if it's a full moon, all right, you got a full moon, which means it's basically daylight at night. It's summertime, so the water's hot. It's the coolest the water's going to be. And it's also summertime, which means we probably don't have much wind, which means the water's probably fairly clean on the outside edge. So these fish can feed up all night. But it does position the fish. I guess the same thing goes for the spawn, the full moon. If you have wet, warm weather like we're dealing with right now, I mean, I'm fished in a t-shirt and shorts today in February. These fish are spawning, but a lot of times when bass are spawning, they don't want to eat. They're not feeding. They're guarding their net. They're doing what they're supposed to do. Now, prior to spawning or right after the spawn is some of the best fishing you can have. But when they're actively spawning, when everyone wants to come down here, it can be very difficult. And I don't mean this to offend anyone. I don't mean this in any way, shape, or form in a negative tense, but you can do very good during the spawn here, but you gotta be good. You gotta be a good fisherman. You gotta be, I mean, if you position the boat and you make a cast to that arrowhead clump or that isolated cattail, it's like that cast better be perfect. Your presentation better be perfect. What bait you're throwing at the fish, how you present the bait, how you work the bait makes all the difference in the world. Your cadence when retrieving the bait, you can entice that fish to bite sometimes. There's little key tricks and things but if you're just new to the lake or new to fishing, I mean, it can be some of your hardest time to catch a fish because there's not very many fish roaming. I mean, these fish are set up. You're putting yourself in position in these spawning areas, and you got to make the right presentation at the right time with the right bait, and it's a little difficult. It's almost like, we're getting into deer hunting. Everyone talks about the rut. Oh, the rut's happening, the rut. Well, there's a lot of guys that can't stand hunting the rut because guys that are dialed in to deer hunting, just like going back to my snook fishing thing. It's a little bit different with bass, but guys that are dialed in their deer, like they eat, sleep, breathe deer hunting, and I'm sure there's a lot of you watching this that are like that. You have this deer dialed. You have them doing this. You have them doing this. Okay, it starts cooling down. You get into early, or you get into early season. You're getting ready to go in and kill this deer. You don't have any encounters with them. Your wind's wrong. You can't go sit. So you're staying out of there, but you're getting pictures of them. You're getting pictures of them every day. You got him on a schedule, and then the rut happens, and he's just buck wild. He's just, he either gets killed 10 miles away or he's just not off pattern. You go to get in the stand, for an afternoon sit. You get in there at 11 o'clock thinking I'll get in at 11 when he's bedding down. He's not bedding down. He's chasing a doe everywhere, sees you, blows out. So there's offsides to it too. But anyway, I don't even know how I got off on that. But yeah, these fish are spawning, so it is a little bit tough. And you just really got to slow down and know the fish are there. Unless you're using forward-facing sonar, then you can look at them. And not to say you're going to catch them, but it's a lot easier to slow down when you see them. And that's something that's really cool, whether you're for or against forward-facing sonar. There's guys that just want nothing to do with it. They don't want to admit that there's anything cool about it. They don't anything. They just say it's the devil. Ricky Bobby, it's the devil, or Ricky Bobby. Bobby Boucher. I just messed up a quote from the best movie ever. FFS is the devil. Someone has to have made a meme of that already. But Dave Mercer said it once. Like, I think he said it to like Randy Blockett or something. But it was like, can't you admit that it's really interesting and crazy what it's taught us? And a lot of people say no, but you're just being naive and stupid. It's unreal. Like, I don't have it on my boat. Again, before you guys blast me in the comments and scream at me, I don't have a 2D sonar on my boat. There is not a screen. There's not a button on my boat that I fish in every single day. I've got 48 inches in graphs in a box in my garage, but I just don't have them on my boat. I'm just too lazy to take a day to install them. And just the way I fish, I typically don't need them. But I've been on boats with forward-facing sonar many a times. I'm not very good with it, I guess, but I do use it. And I do talk to people in and around me on the lake every day who are using it and talk about what they see, and talk to people that fish the Toyota, the Opens here, and teaching us a lot. It's teaching us these fish will spawn in areas that we never thought they would. Now, this is one thing. What we're learning is, and I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but you think of Lake Okeechobee, you think of these fish need clean water, clean, shallow water with hard bottom to spawn. That's complete bullshit. These fish are spawning in 6 foot deep Yoo-hoo, Nesquik, chocolate milk on mud. Now, they are spawning on that. But the way everyone says, well, why are they spawning on this? Why are they spawning on this? This is the thing. Put it to people like this. If you and your wife are driving cross country out in the desert and you're trying to make it to the Grand Canyon, and you're just for some reason out on a cross country trip while your wife's 9 months pregnant, and she goes into labor, and you're in the middle of the desert, she can't say, oh, honey, I'm ready to have this baby. So once we get to the hotel in 8 hours, we need to check in, go in, take a shower, unpack, and then we need to walk over to the hospital so I could deliver the baby. That's not how this happens, right? Like when these bass need to spawn, it's time to drop their eggs. They're going to drop them. So wherever they feel fit and they find, they're going to set up and spawn on it, whether it's ideal or not. Now, just because they're spawning on it doesn't mean that their eggs are going to make it, or their fry are going to even become fry, or their eggs are even going to get fertilized. That's not what I'm saying, but they're still going to treat it as so. So a lot of these areas that we're catching bass in, you're like, these are totally goes against the grain of what these bass are looking for to spawn. And that's true. But whether or not the hatch is going to make it throughout the year or just at all remains to be seen. So that's something that we're going to have to just monitor and look into as we get further down the road. But showing us that, it's showing us how many big fish are in the lake, how many fish are just in the lake in general. A lot of these guys are catching these 30-pound stringers. I mean, look at Scott. He caught 2 bags over 30 pounds. And in those days, he moved his boat like 30 yards. I mean, there's just so many condensed into certain spots. And just fish in general. How many bass are in this lake? It's showing us. And showing us how hard they are to catch, how picky they can be, what they're setting up on. It does show you a lot. It shows you that there's fish in places you never thought there would be. And it is cool. I'm neither for or against the forward facing sonar thing. I'm not going to lie. Do I wish it was just back to just, not just on Okeechobee, just in general? Was it back to just throwing a buzz bait on the bank, flipping a jig in bushes? Yes, of course, but we all do. And it does make me sad. I mean, that's what I like about bass fishing. I like heavy line, big rod, big hook set, tug of war, no drag. And this might sound bad and make me not sound bad, but it might make you guys look at me different. Like, oh, he's not really into bass fishing. But I always say it. If I lived in like Lake of the Ozarks, I wouldn't bass fish. I mean, I don't want to throw a wiggle word on 8 pound. It doesn't excite me. There's nothing wrong with it. And I respect the hell out of the guys that do it, or that can throw a Ned rig better than I can. But I live in Florida. Like, I want to throw a big easy over dollar pads and watch them somersault out of the water with it in their mouth in November. Or I want to flip in a mat and watch the whole mat lift up and hear the braid squeal. I like that part because at the end of the day, bass don't fight. All right. They don't. So I like hitting them hard. And I like, I feel like if you lock the drag down with some heavy line and it's more of this like a pull against deal, I like it. That's just my style. I'm a power fisherman. I'm a Florida fisherman. So do I wish that there was more of that on tour, more on live, more on camera? Absolutely. But here's the deal that like I feel like no one wants to talk about. It's like I think all the guys that are known for scoping, besides like Kiyomi Ito or any of the Japanese guys, I believe they probably are the same way. They would like it to be like that. But out of 100 guys, if one of them has the forward-facing technology on the boat, you all have to have it. You have to have it because that's a competitive edge that now someone has over you, and you're in this to make a living, you're in this to make a living. All right, the watching it live and all that kind of came afterwards, but you originally got into this to make money and go win a tournament. And if the job is to win a tournament, you got to do whatever you can. So you got to have what your competition has. Now, watching like Chris Zaldain's latest video, it's pretty easy to see that most of the anglers that have some of the craziest electronic setups would rather go back to a half-ounce jig in a willow bush or a 6XD on a shell bar, or dragging a Carolina rig out deep, or ripping a chatterbait out of grass, or throwing a frog. They'd all rather do that. But it's just not where the sport is right now. You could go try, but you're going to get your teeth kicked in on most lakes. And it's sad, but I really truly think at some point in the next couple of years, Lake Okeechobee will be the same way. Even let's just say the lake droughts out tomorrow. It drops. It's 7 foot for a year. All our grass comes back. By the time we're back out there fishing and stuff in the next 2 years, that technology is going to come so far that it's going to be able to read right through grass. It's going to be able to look right around the dollar pad. It's going to be able to look in the reed heads, in the balls of hydrilla if we ever get it back, and you're going to be able to pick fish out in there. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And to think it won't, you're just being naive. You can't think of it that way. So do I want it that way? Absolutely not. But am I against the guys that use it? No. It's a skill. It's a technique. Guys have mastered it. It's very interesting. And, it's causing a civil war in the bass fishing industry, in the bass fishing world right now. And I get it. I get it entirely. But I just feel like it's dumb. I watch these pros my guys, like Matt Herron's a big one. He's a flipper. He just goes out and flips a jig at a bush, a dock, a laydown, and that's what he does. And that's no knock on Matt Herron. That's my guy. That's my style. But he complains that he can't compete and it's BS. And I get it. But at the same time, it's like, listen, man, you've been with Johnson Outdoors for 20 years. You could say what you want. Oh, the Humminbird technology isn't, it can't compete with the Garmin or the Lowrance. It's better than not having any of it. I mean, you could get out there and learn it, and you just chose not to. But you can't blame the guy that did. Do I want to watch it on TV? No, I don't. But I never watched smallmouth tournaments anyway. Now I know that these guys are catching them on, Lake Fork and Toledo Bend and these big largemouth lakes with it. And do I tune out? Kinda, I do. Because at the end of the day, they're reeling in a largemouth, but it just looks like a smallmouth event to me. And there's nothing against smallmouth fishermen whatsoever. That's not what I'm saying. I don't relate to it. I've never caught a smallmouth. So it just doesn't relate. But bass shouldn't care about what Cody Davis thinks. I mean, you got to do what moves the needle. They're figuring it out. I think Bass is doing it the right way. All the guys that say we need to just ban it right now, Dave Mercer said it again. I'm a big fan of his. Let it play out. Give it a couple years. See what happens. And, these guys are talking about, well, these fish are going to get so much pressure out in the lake, they're going to go to the bank. Maybe. Then everyone wins. And I think Bass tried to work their schedule to the best of their ability this year so that both types of anglers could benefit. Like it would be an even shootout. But they can only get so close with that, right? They can't predict exactly what's going to happen. So we'll see. I don't know. I know some of that Zaldane video he posted where he just went around and checked out everyone's new rigs. Brian Schmidt has 4 12-inch graphs at his console and 3 or 4 at his bow. It's crazy. And then my favorite comment on there was some guy was like, you didn't show John Cox's $11 setup. It's funny. I mean, that guy literally just goes down the bank and throws a Berkeley General at everything and just catches them. So you can catch them on the bank. But again, who am I to talk? I'm giving you guys my opinion, but I'm just a guide on Lake Okeechobee. So, like, you got the rest of the country, and then you've got, like, Florida, and then you got Lake Okeechobee. We're our own fishery down here. Our fish set up different. Our fish don't read the book. Our fish they're a different species of bass. So I need to worry about them and not worry about what other people are doing. Real quick, also, speaking of like Mercer and bass, Mark Zona was inducted or is going to be inducted into the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. I think that's awesome. I think that's I almost didn't do it, but someone posted, or like maybe it was Bassmaster posted that he was going into it, and there was like 2,200 comments on there, and I stopped myself from clicking on the comments because I said people are going to rip this guy apart and say he doesn't deserve to be in there, but I clicked it anyway, and I was right. People just, man, like the amount. The older I get, I'm real. Like there's little things get to me a lot more now. The older I get, it seems like every day it actually gets worse with me, and I guess that's part of getting older. But like, social media is horrible. It's awful, and I kind of, not just social media, but your phone in general. I'm starting to realize that I am addicted to it. Like I can't stop staring at it. And I'm really trying my best to not look at it anymore because I guess because I'm getting older, it's like if I see something that like I don't agree with on social or something, which we'll get into, there's a big topic going on right now that I've hit on before, but we'll get into it again. It ruins my day. Whereas before he's like, oh, this guy's an idiot and move up, but I can't anymore. And it just like the Mark Zona thing. Like that dude, I don't understand how they could say that. I mean, listen, he is the voice of bass. I mean, you can go watch Major League Fishing if you want, but the commentary and coverage between bass and Major League Fishing is It's like an Abu Garcia 5500 versus Bantam Shimano Bantam. I mean, it's night and day. I mean, Bass, you cannot touch them, but their commentary team, their staff, those guys, they're dialed in. That's not a knock on MLF, but it kind of is. And Mark, I am a Zona guy. I always say, like, if you could share a day on the water with an angler, a bass angler for the day, who would it be? And I always say it depends what kind of mood I'm in or where we're going. It's like if we're going to a lake, I don't know. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. It'd either be Greg Hackney if I'm in the mood to just go jack them on a jig, and like if the goal is like you need to catch 30, I'm going with Hackney. But if the goal is, man, I just whatever, I'm in a good place, I'm hanging out, it's just going to be a fun trip, it's Mark Zona. And that's not a knock on Zona. Like a lot of people don't know that guy's a hammer. Like everyone looks at him as the face of bass, and he's just the commentator. That dude catches them. And not only does he catch them on his TV show, but he used to compete, and he knows his stuff. Um, and I think he's a phenomenal angler. And I'm a Zona guy. I am. That guy gets it. He gets entertainment. He gets TV. He is funny. He's knowledgeable. He's overly passionate. He's the man. I'm a Zona freak. I mean, I love everything that guy does, and I think that's awesome. I think it's very well deserved that he's in there. He's done a lot for bass fishing. I always say I was one of those guys where I was a huge Zona fan. I thought he was funny. He makes me laugh. He's just he eats, sleeps, and breathes this stuff. But I remember one time I was watching Bass University, and he had a seminar on there on skipping boat docks, and I was like, I'll watch it. Now, keep in mind, there's not a boat dock on this lake, but I'll watch it. And it was the most informative video I've ever watched in my entire life. I was like, I need to go I need to go fish boat docks. Just that guy doesn't get the credit he deserves when it comes to the fishing side. And then as far as the commentator, he's the best in the business. I'm a big fan of Tommy Sanders also, but Zona's the man. I can go on for days about him. But anyway, that's super cool. I was happy to see that. I just happened to be watching live when Tommy Sanders let him know that he was going to be inducted. So voted in. So Mark Zona, congratulations. If you ever want to come down and throw a pop and perch on Lake Okeechobee this spring, we'll get a power pull replay of the week on camera. But what I was going to say, I'm trying to think where I was going to go with this now. Oh, well, something else I was going to hint on was, a lot of people look at him as like a TV host of Zona's Awesome Fishing Show, or he's a commentator. So they just immediately think like he's not a good fisherman. And I feel like it's really crazy to me how I think there's something that I possess that a lot of other people possess that some people don't possess, and it's not their fault. But there's guys that fish, and then there's guys that fish. And I get in the boat with both every day. And I'm not saying I'm the best fisherman in the world. I'm not saying I'm a good fisherman at all. But I can look, you can give me 10 guys, and I'll tell you who's a good fisherman within 3 minutes. I'm just talking to them, the terminology they use. And I feel like some people can't do that. Because I've seen it go all different ways. And that was some of the comments on Zona. It's like, oh, he's just he's a talker. If he was any good, he would have competed in the, no, that's not true. And people get categorized into not being fishermen because they don't fish competitively. It's like, look at the Ben Milliken thing. Listen, he is totally, he's my kind of person. He's a no bullshit, this is how it is. And a lot of people don't like that, which I think we need more of in the sport. But because he had a huge YouTube channel, people just immediately are like, oh, well, he can't fish. But it blew like, but then you watch someone like Ben Milliken's YouTube channel, and then the comments are he's going to have fun on the elites. He sucks. You can only catch him in private lakes or whatever the hell people say. And he's not my style of fisherman whatsoever. But I'm like, the guy can fish. He's a badass. He's a hammer. I mean, it's obvious. And then I'm gonna maybe get ripped apart for this, and I'm not the biggest fan of him anyway, so whatever. But like, they'll go watch Lunkers TV or Rob Turkla, and they're just like, he's the man, and he's not at all. He's a phenomenal business person, probably the best in the industry. I'll give him all, but the same people that are called, like, there's people that'll call Ben Milliken a joke and he's going to fail on the elites. And I'm just watching this like, how is there any part of you that say he can't fish because he's a live scoper? I mean, he can catch him doing other stuff, but that's his bread and butter. But he's arguably one of the, if not the best in the world at it. So at least at catching giant fish and with a big bait, he's probably the best at it with a big bait. We'll just go out and say that. But then there's other groups of people that'll say that, like, Rob Turkla is the best in the world because he has a YouTube channel and he has 2 million. Well, he fished the opens and he sucked. And I'm not a big Lunker or Rob guy. I don't know him. I say I'm not. I don't know. He's just not my cup of tea. I think he's kind of arrogant and I don't know. But all that aside, he's a phenomenal businessman person. He makes a lot of money. He's good at what he does. You can't deny it, right? He makes more money than I ever will, and he's good at designing product. I don't know. He's just good. Like, he's just good at what he does. But when it comes to fishing, he's not a Ben Milliken, right? So, and Rob never claimed to be like the GOAT, and he never claimed to be like, I'm going to go make the elites. He never did that. I mean, Rob makes $5 billion a year, whatever he makes. He just went to go fish the opens almost as like, I can do it. It's like me fishing the Toyota. I have no business being in a Toyota series, but I just was in a spot. Actually, I wasn't even in a spot. My wife entered it in me in the Toyota last year for Christmas. So I'm going fishing. I didn't say I was going to win. I just went fishing. And that's kind of what Rob did. He never said he was the man, but there's people that were just like, I had people on my boat that were like, so, when we see Rob on the Elite Series next year, I'm like, well, he didn't make it. Oh, he's going to. He's phenomenal. And I'm like, he catches fish, but he's not like there's guys that got it. Like, you could see it. At least I can. And I feel like a lot of people can't. But anyway, there's also people that there's another group of people that they just think like, if you have a YouTube channel, you suck. And listen, there are some kooky YouTubers out there. And arguably they're probably the most successful, which is crazy. And that's not, I'm not saying like the Guggen squad or whatever. That's not even close to who I'm talking about. Again, those guys, a lot of people hated on them. And I know I did a video, I think years ago, like telling people not to pay attention to them, but that's not what I meant. I meant when it comes to tournament fishing, those guys never marketed themselves as tournament anglers. They wanted to be entertaining fishermen and get the youth in the sport. And no one, say what you want about them, not a company in the industry hasn't brought attention to the sport like the Guggens did with the youth of the sport. They're the GOATs at it. So that's, I don't mean it anything like that. And I shouldn't even say they're kooky because they're not. They were goofy, but that was their whole shtick kind of, right? Making that kind of content. But there's guys on YouTube, not just on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, that they got patches on their jersey, like They don't, but they act like they do. And it's and they, I'm not hating on their subscribers, their following. That's not what it is. But like, th- there's there's those that are just not. They're not going to win the Bassmaster Classic anytime soon. We'll put it that way. But then there'll be another angler who just gets thrown in that category because they have a YouTube channel. Ben Milliken. Um, I can't even think of anyone else off the top of my head. But it's funny because, like, look at Scott Martin, look at Chris Zaldane, look at every pro. Every pro, your favorite pro probably has a YouTube channel at this point because it's just become the norm. So I don't know. I just feel like people, if you're not on the Elite Series, people think you just automatically are not a good fisherman, but that's not necessarily true. Um, Mikey Balls. A lot of you guys watch Mikey Balls. He doesn't even fish tournaments anymore, but he'd go toe to toe with a lot of those guys. That guy's a stick. He is a hammer. Um, I don't know. That was my rant on that. I'll probably offend some people, but that's just what I mean. It's like that with everything. But I don't know. I just feel like it's weird that Zona got thrown into that. He got hate. You're gonna miss him if he wasn't there. But also, I've learned that no matter what it is, people are gonna just hate on everything, and that's why I'm just stopping looking at comments. I feel like. Anyway, yeah, I probably just lost a bunch of subscribers because of that rant. And because I said I'm not a Rob Turkla fan, I'm not a lot. There's a lot of people I'm not fans of, but it's not as mean I don't respect them and I wouldn't shake their hand. I'm not. It just doesn't fit my style. What I like to fish, but anyway. Besides that, the controversial thing or the hate and the bad publicity thing I was talking about is I hinted on it in the or I talked about it in a whole video on it. Is that the discharges have started from Lake Okeechobee, and everything that we said was going to happen is happening. It's blowing out the St. Lucie Inlet. A lot of it's making its way down the coast. They're not having red tides or fish kills or anything like that. But at the end of the day, there's 1.2 billion with a B, the second letter in the alphabet, B, billion gallons of water a day making its way, at least I don't know what it is on the West Coast, but making its way to the St. Lucie a day, and that's not okay. I'm supposed to go snook fishing tonight, and I got stuff I got to do down in Fort Lauderdale tomorrow, renewing my captain's license and stuff. So I was going to go snook fishing, leave the house here around 1 a.m., go hit some spots. The tides are good. The moon is good. But part of me almost doesn't even want, I don't know what this is going to do to the fish. There's all this discharging going on. And it's not just from Lake Okeechobee. It's from all these different places all throughout the state as well. A lot of water being moved in the state right now. And as a full-time guide on Lake Okeechobee, you would think you should be ecstatic because all you do is preach about the lake needing to be low, and it does need to be low. And there's a little bit of me that's like, man, I'm excited, the lake's coming down. But the other part, like, I'm a Floridian first, right? Like, I love the state of Florida. I really do. I complain about it more than anyone, but there's no other place like this place. The people suck. All right. There's horrible people. There's a horrible number of people moving and just flocking to this state every day. The traffic's getting horrendous. But again, that's not the state's fault. Like the piece of land that is Florida it's its own world. There's nothing like it. I talk about it all the time. I was literally deep in the marsh of Lake Okeechobee today, texting my buddy who just came in from commercial sword fishing and was just hauling off his cores of his swordfish to bring them to market off his boat. And our phones, were 40 minutes apart exactly. Like, we're that close. I mean, I've done videos on it before, but Florida's just special. I love. I couldn't imagine not living here and not being born here and being involved in all the aspects of Florida. I make my living now on Lake Okeechobee, and I love this lake. I love bass fishing. I love everything about it. But again, like I have a day off tomorrow. I do have things I have to go do. But for recreation, I want to go snook fishing. I want to go fish for snook, tarpon. I want to go do some inshore fishing. Heck, if I had time tomorrow, once I got done with my captain deal, I'd love to hop on a friend's boat and go drag a planer for some kingfish, maybe try for a wahoo, something like that. So I do it all. And it sucks. Like the mismanagement of this water is crazy. It's crazy. And I was talking to a buddy I know, Coleman Roberts. I don't know if he watches my stuff or not, but there's something in the works. As much as I don't know if it matters, but that I bitch and moan about the captains for clean water guys, how I'm not a fan. There's talk and some stuff in the works where we may be having a sit down meeting. What will come of it? Possibly nothing, possibly everything. I don't know. And my issue with the captains for clean water guys isn't, well, it's not really, it's the issue is their message and how they've been going about everything. It's like, I'm a captain for clean water. I'm a captain for just correct water management, I should say. Like the whole state is jacked up when it comes to water management. Do I want what's best for Lake Okeechobee? Yes. Is it because I make my living there? It's honestly, I'm looking at you dead in the face. It's not because I make my living there. I will go get another job doing something else. I have a 22-foot bay boat. I could just simply go run in nearshore trips in Jupiter, Palm Beach, Boca Raton. There's no one doing it in Boca Raton. There's awesome fishery there, fishing seawalls for big snook, dragging mullet for tarpon, dead baiting tarpon, I know it. I've done it. I can go just move my operation and just aim it more towards saltwater or maybe go fish. I can drive up to Kissimmee. I can run bass trips out in the Florida Everglades. It's not because it's my livelihood. It's honestly because I want what's right for the state and all of the estuaries, all of the bodies of water within it. And as happy, again, I said it before, but as happy as I am that Lake Okeechobee is dropping, part of me is because it fishes better when it drops. Part of me is because we owe it to her to put her back at the regular level. And part of me is also because it's like, that's the start of fixing what is a giant problem in the state, because it's where all the problems come from when it has nothing to do with Lake Okeechobee, but it'll bring the grass back, clean the water up. And if we keep the water lower, it's going to help the lake, and then it's going to help not having to do these massive discharges to the coasts, and everyone's happy. So that's what maybe is in the works, is sitting down and talking with these captains for clean water guys. I think it's 2024, right? I think these guys are smart, most of them. And it's I don't know. The reason I don't like them is because their whole message has just been Lake Okeechobee's the devil. Lake Okeechobee's the devil, or Bobby Boucher. I don't want to see you hanging around that Lake Okeechobee no more. And that's just ridiculous. That's just a Band-Aid. And there's really nothing to do with it. Lake Okeechobee is so little of what the problem is. But no one, it's a long story. It's a sit down meeting that I want to talk to these guys about, and I truly want what's best for both sides. I do, because these bass aren't going anywhere. The bass are they're spawning on mud balls and they're making it. We're catching 9-pounders. Okay. They're going to make it whether we just try to destroy this lake or not. But the estuaries on the coasts, they're in real danger. They really are. The fishing has gone tremendously downhill for a lot of different species over there. The snook aside, the snook are staying around, but the trout, the redfish, the flounder, the grass flats, the pinfish, I want it back. I want it there. I'm a Floridian. I consider that my water. I consider that something that I like to go do this time of year, typically when I'm not booked. Um, on my days off, I totally would have had waders on and out there wading in the Indian River Lagoon 5, 6 years ago, but there's nothing left to wade. It's just all kind of gone. So, but I think I'm starting to see on social media, like, you're a lot less Lake Okeechobee's toxic, Lake Okeechobee's the problem. You're always going to have some people that think that, but I feel like people are starting to, in everything, in politics and whatever it might be, whatever issue you're dealing with, people are starting to step back and look at the big picture and how we can fix the problem. So we'll see. I'm in the works with that. I want to get this state back to the state it should be. It's fishing capital of the world. I mean, there's no other state that offers to you what Florida does when it comes to fishing, or just the water in general, the wildlife, the everything. I mean, being growing up on the pier this time of year, I can picture it right now. Like, we took it for granted because we were there, but being out on Deerfield Pier in February, a light west wind, you got a big ground swell, the water's like glacier ice, Gatorade blue. You got the sun going down over the high rises behind you. People are walking down the beach eating ice cream. You got people enjoying cocktails on the water, on the beachfront restaurants. Some people are skimboarding. Some crazy northerners are swimming in the 70-degree water like they're nuts. And you can just sit out there on that pier and watch flopping or tail walking, free jumping sailfish go by. You got big center consoles running around. Kingfish and mackerel airing out on ballyhoo. Like, while I'm standing on the pier, this is all stuff you're taking in. And then, you could get in your car, go home, go to bed, and be on the lake or the Everglades literally 7, 8 miles from that, 10 miles from, well, 20 miles from that, and have alligators ripping each other apart. You could be watching birds wade through the water and herons catch fish. It's crazy. Florida's a wild place, and I want to keep it that way. So, other than that, I guess that was about it. Anyone who watches this who has like connections, anyone else who has a podcast as far as talking about fishing or Florida or what the problems are, I'd love to get on, do some other stuff. So if anyone ever wants to have me on or have anyone else on, I'd love to. I'm a podcast junkie. It'd be awesome to be a part of one. So let me know. If you guys want to come fishing with me, let me know. Something I want to touch on, and I really hope this doesn't. Well, first of all, let me wrap this up by saying this. Like, I am truly thankful for each and every one of you guys who watch my channel, support the channel, subscribe. Those of you that book trips and come fishing with me, it's unreal. I've literally been booked up since the first of the year, and I'm pretty well booked up through March. I don't think I have a day off in March except for like maybe 2 or 3 tournament days. And the amount of people I'm having to turn away, I don't want to, but our dates just don't coincide. But it's crazy. I started this guide business just because I didn't have another option. I thought I was going to hate it, and I've grown to love it. And the people I've met and the friends I've made, it's awesome. So thank all of you. Even if you haven't booked a trip with me, if you just leave comments on my videos, whatever it might be, anyone who supports Tight Splice Charters, I greatly, greatly appreciate you guys. Yeah, it's awesome. But I was going to say something else and I can't think of it. But just excited to go to work every day, and it's been awesome. If you want to go fishing with me, text me. It's the easiest way to get me. Guys, I've got a lot of people that, and like I said, I don't want this to sound arrogant at all. I don't mean it that way whatsoever. I mean it when I say it. But I got people that, like, they get upset if they can't get a hold of me, or they want to just chat or shoot the breeze on the phone. Like, I don't have time. I feel weird when like I wake up and I've got 16 texts, and a lot of them are from friends slash past customers, and that are sending me pictures of their fish. They're sending me pictures of a new of a trolling motor they got, of a new lure, of a new bait they found, a new color. Want to know if I like that hook? Want to know if I like that rod? I'm on my phone. Like I see it, but it's really hard for me to get back to everyone at this point. Um, because at the end of the day, I wake up and I'm on the water, and I can't really be on the water and talking to someone about something because I'm on the water with someone now who's paying me for my time, and now I'm not giving them my time. Now I might call Kelly on the phone while we're out fishing because Kelly's my good luck charm. If I call Kelly, you guys know, a lot of you have been witness to it. You catch a 5 or 6 pounder if Kelly's on the phone. But I feel weird even about that because like whoever's on my boat is paying for that time. And now that time that's when people are paying to ask me questions. Do about a chatterbait or a line or a rod or a reel? And if during that time I'm just, you know, talking to other people on the phone, that's not right. So I get off the water. I usually get in the car. I drive home. I'm on the phone with the wife. I get home. I got a lawn. I got a house to keep up. I've got 25 animals. My wife, I think, is pulling up right now, so possibly 29 animals at her rate. She just brings stuff home. So I've got a 2-year-old son who I want to hang out with, and then I've got another son on the way. We're in the process of getting ready to start changing rooms around, and then it's go to bed, wake up, do it all again. So it's really hard for me to like. And on top of me booking trips, like people, hey, I'm literally typing this, I'm looking at 4 or 5 emails and a few people that have reached out to me for dates. I've got to get those people in the book so that my bills get paid. And I don't even know why I'm going off on this because most people understand. Like, I'll text people back. Sometimes it's legitimately, literally. Sometimes it's 2.5, 3 weeks later. I'll respond for me to respond to a text message. I'll have a morning where I'm off. It's a blow day, like blow like the wind. I'm not doing cocaine. I'm hanging out on the couch and I'm just scroll through the phone, and I literally will go back. Like some days it's 25, 28, 35 text messages and click and I'll respond. But I'm not trying to ignore you. I'm not trying to be a pain. I'm just not a good multitasker as it is whatsoever. I'm the worst in the world. So I apologize for taking a while to get back to you. And I'm not trying to ghost you. But if you do want to book a trip, if you want to go fishing, the best way to get me, I never check my email. Thankfully, my wife does because she's an email freak. So try not to email me. Text me. Don't call me. I'm sure I'm not special. You guys get the 65,000 spam calls a day. Text me. It could be basic. Cody, my name's such and such. Want to book a Lake Okeechobee bass trip on this date. We're between these dates. And I know that that's a possible trip, and I'll get to it. Sometimes those even take me a day or two, but that's the best way to reach me. So definitely do that. April and May should be good. If you want to come down and throw a frog and flip the old jig around, it should be good with the water dropping. I think it is going to be good. I'm excited. I don't want to throw a chatterbait anymore. I don't want to drag a worm. I want to flip a jig. So I'm waiting for that time to get right, and we'll be out there doing that. I haven't caught a fish flipping in like 5 months. For real. It's starting to bug me. But I guess that was my rant. Like and subscribe. If this bored you, I apologize. It probably would bore me too, but I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully, I can get back in the swing of things and start producing some actual fishing content. I feel like the YouTuber we were talking about, the guy that has a channel but can't catch a fish. That's me. I can't catch bass anymore. My last bass, this is a true story, that I've caught that's been over 4 pounds was probably back in late October, early November. And that's the God's honest truth. I haven't caught I've caught like 9 bass, 10 bass since November. It's horrible. I don't know what's going on with me, but I got to get back in the groove and I got to start posting some actual fishing content. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys like these videos, if you think I should just do more of these podcast style videos, me just talking, catching you guys up to speed, let me know. If you guys want to book a trip, let me know. And other than that, I'll see you guys on the water. Appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you on the next one. Be safe out there. Tight lines.